The Joker is actually the devil. And what if he's something even more dangerous than that? There's something about the Joker that pulls at us, something that's disturbingly familiar. Have you ever wondered why we're so drawn to him? Why is it that in every version of the Joker, from Joaquin Phoenix to Heath Ledger to Jack Nicholson, we can't look away?
You're going mad.
Is it the chaos, the destruction, or is it something deeper, something a lot more older, far more sinister and more real?
You can call me Joker.
See, I'm not saying the Joker is based on the devil, I'm saying he is the devil. The one who's been playing games with humanity for centuries. A dark force of chaos and manipulation that makes you question everything you think you know.
This town deserves a better class of criminal. And I'm gonna give it to him.
Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you'll see the Joker and yourself in a way you never imagined. If you're ready to explore the madness, hit the like button right now and let's get into it. The Joker isn't just a comic book villain, he's an archetype, and a very old one at that. An archetype is a basic pattern, symbol, or energy that shows up in stories and myths across different centuries. Like Satan the fallen angel, the rebel who tried to overthrow God, the Joker wants to overthrow the order of Gotham. And this idea, whether in the Bible, a comic book, or a movie, digs its way into our minds. Personally, I've always been fascinated with the Joker. After all, I'm a sword swallower and was the host of a freak show. And whether we admit it or not, there's a part of us that resonates with this archetype, that longs to tear down the structures that confine us. Before we discover how the Joker is actually the devil, let's take a look at Joaquin Phoenix's version. See, Arthur Fleck is probably the most haunting and realistic version of the Joker we've seen. Why? Because he's not a mastermind criminal or a calculated villain. He's someone we can all relate to. But he's a broken man, a man pushed to the edge of sanity by a society that rejects and mocks him. Arthur is constantly beaten down by life, and we see a man who is unfairly victimized over and over again. He's the underdog, and naturally we want him to succeed. We're made to feel for him, to sympathize. Society looks at him as a joke, literally, and dismisses him as broken, just like many of us feel when we're on the outskirts, unseen and unwanted. Arthur tries his best to fit into society, hiding his struggles behind a forced joy and a fake smile. It's something we can all relate to, forcing a smile to hide the deep pain, the hell inside of us. But what happens when he finally snaps, when he goes from being the joke to becoming the Joker? Arthur's first major act of violence occurs on the subway when he kills 3 men who are harassing him. When Arthur finally lashes out, when he kills those men on the subway, it doesn't feel like senseless murder, it feels like righteous vengeance. It's almost as if we want him to fight back, to take control. And this marks the turning point in his transformation into the Joker. And this is the moment Arthur snaps and begins his descent into chaos, much like a spiritual fall. See, it's not just the transformation of a man losing his mind, it's a spiritual rebirth. He's no longer just a victim, he's a symbol of rebellion. Think about that iconic scene where Arthur, beginning his transformation into the Joker, dances on the stairs. This is the moment that Arthur Fleck dies and the Joker is born. Like Christ, who's crucified and rises again, transformed into a god, the Joker is no longer just a man. He's transcended into something else. But this is no god of light. It's one of chaos, of darkness, a twisted resurrection. In that moment, we see Arthur Fleck no longer as a person, but as a symbol. A symbol of rebellion, of chaos, and in many ways of liberation.
Can you introduce me as Joker?
What's wrong with your real name?
That's what you called me on the show.
When Arthur goes on live TV as Joker and kills Murray Franklin, he doesn't just kill a man, he kills the very idea of order and civility that society clings to, shattering the illusions of a hypocritical and fake society.
A mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash!
He's no longer just the trickster, but he becomes the symbol of rebellion, like the cosmic rebel Satan in the war in heaven. Just as Satan defied God, the ultimate symbol of law and order, Arthur defies the symbols that have oppressed him, shattering the illusion of control that society holds dear. In this moment, the Joker embraces the chaos completely and is fully transformed. But why do we relate to this so strongly? Why are we so attracted to this kind of character? What if he represents something within us all craving to be free? See, the Joker isn't alone. He sends a message that invites us to do the same. Like the devil, the Joker doesn't just create chaos, he tempts others to join him. After his murder, Arthur revels in the chaos he's caused and is adored by a crowd wearing clown masks, letting their own inner Joker come out. See, it's not just that we relate to his human-like characteristics as Arthur Fleck, but we're also attracted to the madness and chaos of the Joker. And we see this clearly in Heath Ledger's Agent of Chaos in The Dark Knight.
I'm an agent of chaos.
We relate to the Joker because, like Satan, he represents the ultimate rebel who refuses to be controlled, who sees through the veil of illusion and fights back.
Here we go.
In the case of Satan, he challenged God's authority and sought to overturn the divine order. He believed in something different, the idea that freedom, even chaos, is better than blind obedience. In John Milton's Paradise Lost, the devil says, "It is better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." And this is why we find ourselves drawn to the Joker, especially in today's world. We live in a society that constantly tells us to follow the rules, to stay in line, to believe in the structures that we've been given. But deep down, many of us know that these structures are built on illusions. The Joker, like Satan, exposes this. He shows us that the systems of order, law, and morality are fragile and can be torn down with a single push. The archetype of darkness that Satan represents appears throughout history, and in Greek mythology, he's represented by Dionysus, the god of madness, chaos, and freedom. In the ancient world, Dionysus was worshipped through the Dionysian mystery cults, where followers would give themselves over to madness, ecstasy, and wild, uninhibited freedom. The Dionysian rituals mixed pleasure, pain, music, and intoxication into a divine experience where the rigid structures of society, law, and even reality itself would fall away. The Dionysian followers reached total freedom through madness and chaos. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because it's exactly what the Joker represents. In the same way that Dionysus offered his followers freedom through madness, the Joker offers us a glimpse into the world of chaos that lies beneath the surface of reality. He seduces us with his madness, showing us a world where the rules don't apply, where freedom is found not in control, but in letting go.
See, madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
But there's something even more fascinating here. See, in the Dionysian mysteries, madness wasn't seen as a curse, it was a gift. Madness was a form of divine revelation. The Joker, like Dionysus, is showing us that madness isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's the key to freedom. Not only is the Joker the modern-day embodiment of the rebel archetype, he's the trickster as well.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
Like Satan the deceiver, the trickster is always the one who challenges the gods, who breaks the rules, who exposes the illusions of order.
You know that I'm telling the truth.
The Joker exposes the absurdity of the world. He shows us that at the end of the day, it's all a joke. But what if this madness, this Joker, this devil, is something we need? If we try to reject what the Joker offers, our lives can fall apart. See, there's an ancient story that illustrates the consequences of what happens when we reject this force of chaos and madness, when we cling too tightly to order and control. It's the story of the Bacchae, written by Euripides. In this story, the god Dionysus goes to the city of Thebes to spread his worship and to remind the people of his divine power. But the king of Thebes, Pentheus, refuses to acknowledge Dionysus as a god. He rejects the wild ecstasy, the madness, and the chaotic freedom that Dionysus offers. Pentheus is the embodiment of order, of rigid control, of everything that Dionysus stands against. So what does Dionysus do? He doesn't just destroy Pentheus, he drives him mad. He lures Pentheus into the very chaos he's trying to resist. In the end, Pentheus's own mother, under the influence of the madness of Dionysus, tears her son apart in a frenzied state and puts his head on a stick. The tragedy of the Bacchae is a powerful reminder that if we reject the chaos within ourselves, if we deny our need for freedom, for ecstasy, for madness, we'll be consumed by it. Dionysus demands to be acknowledged, and when he isn't, the consequences are devastating.
These civilized people, they'll eat each other.
We can see glimpses of this in one of the darkest iterations of the Joker ever created. Alan Moore's version in The Killing Joke. It was originally a comic book, but was adapted into an animated film. And let me tell you, I had a hard time watching it. The Killing Joke was so dark that even Moore has said that he went too far. Alan Moore is a name that's deeply tied to the occult. He's not just a comic book writer, he's a practicing magician, an occultist. And when you look at his work on the Joker, you can see the influence of his occult beliefs. The Killing Joke is about the thin line between sanity and madness, between order and chaos. In The Killing Joke, the Joker tries to prove that all it takes is one bad day to turn anyone into him.
All it takes is one bad day.
At the end of The Killing Joke, Batman descends into madness. He begins laughing, and many fans believe that in that moment, Batman kills the Joker. Batman possibly breaks his own rules of never killing, and symbolized by his laughter, he becomes the very thing he was fighting against. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, said, "Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster." But what if instead of fighting the Joker, it was possible to embrace the madness and chaos that he offers?
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Here's where things get really interesting. There's an ancient cult known as the Orphic cult that worshipped both Dionysus and Apollo. Dionysus, as we've seen, represents chaos, madness, and wild freedom, the same archetype that Satan and the Joker represent. But Apollo represents the opposite: order, reason, structure, and discipline. Sound familiar? This is what Batman represents. The Orphic cult understood that life isn't about choosing between chaos and order, but about embracing both. Dionysus and Apollo, the devil and God, the Joker and Batman are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. And if you try to live only in the realm of reason, of order, of control, you deny a fundamental part of yourself, the part that craves freedom and letting go. But if you give in completely to chaos, you lose the grounding that order provides. Just like day needs night and life needs death, order needs chaos. The two aren't just opposing forces, they're complementary. In The Dark Knight, the Joker burns a massive pile of money, saying it's not about the money, it's about sending a message.
Not about money. It's about sending a message.
See, chaos left unchecked can destroy everything. But order, when it becomes too rigid, too controlling, it leads to stagnation. It suffocates life, creativity, and freedom. It becomes fascism. That's why we need a little chaos, a little madness to shake things up, to break the mold, and to keep things evolving. Thomas Jefferson once said, "A little rebellion now and then is a good thing." The Joker represents the force that comes along and tears down the old structures so that something new can grow. Batman, on the other hand, represents the force that builds those structures and keeps the world from descending into total anarchy. The two need each other to maintain balance. The Joker knows this. He even tells Batman in The Dark Knight, "You complete me."
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? You complete me.
But this duality isn't just something that plays out between Batman and the Joker. It represents something that exists within each of us. This is where Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, and his ideas about the shadow self come in. Jung believed that we all have a shadow side, the dark parts of ourselves that we try to hide or repress. This shadow contains our fears, our desires, our impulses, everything that we're ashamed of. Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But here's the thing, if we ignore the shadow, if we try to pretend that it doesn't exist, it grows stronger. It begins to control us from the inside, and we become blind to its influence as it wreaks havoc on our lives. Jung taught that the only way to become whole, to truly understand ourselves, is to integrate the shadow. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This doesn't mean giving in to our darkest impulses. It means acknowledging them, understanding them, and finding a way to balance them with the light. Jung also said, "How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole." In other words, just like Batman needs the Joker, we need our dark side. The Joker, in his madness, understands this. Batman, for all his strength, can't admit it. And this is the lesson for all of us. We must embrace both sides of ourselves, our light and our darkness. We must integrate our shadow instead of repressing it. Because if we deny the chaos within us, if we try to live only in the realm of order and control, we'll end up driven to madness, like Batman at the end of The Killing Joke, or Pentheus in the Bacchae, torn apart by the very force we were trying to suppress. But this darkness isn't just something we learn about in psychology. It's a force that actually lives within us and is behind the layers of existence that can be experienced. And this brings us to something even more unsettling: the connection between the Joker and the devil that we encounter in altered states of consciousness. DMT has been considered the most powerful psychedelic substance known to humanity that some people say allows you to peel back the layers of reality and see into your psyche and beyond the material world. What's most shocking about it is that our bodies naturally produce DMT. Many who take DMT describe encountering an entity known as the Jester, who resembles a laughing clown or Satan himself. Now, I've personally encountered this entity in the form of a smiling satanic face. This grinning devil invites you into a carnival-like dimension, a chaotic, shifting landscape of strange visions and bizarre emotions. The DMT Jester, or the devil, reveals the cosmic joke that reality itself is a mad game.
There's always madness. You can lock them away forever.
The Cathars knew this well. They were a group of heretical Christians that were crushed by the Crusades and the Inquisition because they had a radical belief. In their secret books, they revealed their belief that God didn't create the world. It was Satan, the great deceiver, who created the material world to trap our souls. They saw physical existence as an illusion, like a hall of mirrors in a cosmic carnival where our souls wander aimlessly, lost and confused. The Joker shows us that law and order are illusions, and the DMT Jester takes it further by showing us that reality itself is a game, just one big cosmic joke.
I've proven my point. Gordon's been driven mad.
In the final scene of The Joker, we see Arthur locked up in Arkham Asylum, laughing to himself. He tells the psychiatrist that she wouldn't get the joke, meaning that his worldview is beyond the understanding of those still trapped in conventional thinking. Only by embracing chaos and madness can we get the joke of reality and shatter the illusions. By the end of the movie, Arthur has become a symbol of rebellion and freedom. The people of Gotham, inspired by his violence, rise up in a chaotic riot, wearing clown masks and embracing the madness that he's unleashed. The Joker isn't just one man. He's an idea, a force of chaos that infects the entire city. And he reveals what's been inside each of us all along, hidden in the shadows. But this all changes in Joker 2. Now, there are many reasons why Joker 2 wasn't well received, but the core issue lies in the fact that Arthur Fleck rejects the Joker and the system wins. This rejection feels deeply unsatisfying because, as viewers, we're not just watching Arthur's story, we're projecting our own inner struggles onto him. In the first Joker, we saw Arthur embrace his shadow, the darker, chaotic side of himself, and that resonated because deep down, our own shadows desire to be embraced. When Arthur refuses the Joker in Joker 2, it's not just his rejection, it feels like a denial of the darkness we all have inside. We want to see him fully become what he's meant to be, because it speaks to that part of us that craves acceptance of our own darker impulses. Without that full transformation, the journey feels incomplete, leaving us with a sense of unresolved tension. Our inner darkness, struggling to be free, is why we are so attracted to the wild, chaotic, fully unleashed version of the Joker. It's why the first Joker was such a success, and why Heath Ledger's portrayal is so loved, and why he always steals the show in any movie, game, comic book, or animated series he appears in. The real reason why we can't look away is that the Joker is the funhouse mirror that reflects all of the chaos, madness, and darkness within ourselves. The part that wants to break free, crash the system, and laugh at the hypocrisy of the so-called order in the world.
What a day.
So, is the Joker the devil? Yes. Not the devil as he's literally described in the Bible, but as an archetype, a force. And what's even more terrifying is that we are attracted to the Joker because we have that same devil, that same darkness within us. The part that wants to break free, rebel, and follow our own rules. We don't just fear the Joker, we relate to him because he's part of all of us. But the truth is, this isn't something we need to fear. It's not about giving into the madness completely. It's about embracing that aspect of ourselves and using it in a positive way as a force of transformation. Jung said we cannot change anything unless we accept it. Ultimately, we don't want to give the Joker, Satan, the shadow, control over our lives, but we want to acknowledge that it exists within us and embrace that dark, chaotic power balanced with the force of light, order, and reason to transform our lives. So the real question isn't, is the Joker the devil? The real question is, are you ready to join him? Watch my video, Is God Actually the Devil? And check out my new book, Neogenesis: Dawn of the New Mind. The link is in the description of this video. Become a member now to get access to members-only videos, and a big shout out to everyone who supports.